The Billionaire's Bargain, Chapter 4, English translation. There was no challenge that made Emma try this hard. She simply couldn't lose. A crowd had gathered around one of the craps tables, and every time she tried to pass the dice, they erupted in protest, putting them right back into her hands. She took a deep breath. Standing behind her, Alex massaged her shoulders. With a bet like this, you're either saving the charity or buying us a new hotel. She shook the dice between her palms. We don't need a new hotel. This is embarrassing. Don't you see Maxim watching me? He's not watching you. Emma sneaked a glance at the host of the evening and saw him running a finger under his shirt collar. It was already bad enough that she was winning. Still, the entire crowd was winning with her. How do I lose? She whispered to Alex. Roll a 7, all right. She blew on the dice. Alex chuckled at her theatrical flourish, and she jabbed him with her elbow. Come on. Be supportive, she hissed. Let's go, 7. He bellowed back. You know you're about to lose 200 grand. It's not your money. Yeah, it's mine. Despite his words, his tone said he couldn't care less. It wasn't his money anyway. It belonged to the Teddy Bear Trust, and she was either going to put it back where it belonged or lose it all. She threw the dice. They scattered across the green felt table, bouncing through piles of chips that probably totaled enough to fund a surgery, hitting the far rail, then rolling to a stop. A 6 and a 1, a rush of exhilaration shot through her. She'd done it. Stop smiling, Alex warned, as the crowd groaned. Right. The other high rollers were disappointed. She quickly buried her grin against Alex's chest. His strong arm came around her, and he made a show of stroking her back. All right. So much for pretending she wasn't reacting to his underlying sensuality. Every fiber of her body quivered in response to his warmth. Don't worry, he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. It's only money, and it's for a good cause. The groans and grumbles around them shifted to good-natured teasing. One man pointed out the tax benefits of losing, while another joked that they'd all make the Teddy Bear Trust's Christmas card list this year. Alex didn't seem in any hurry to let her go. No surprise there. He had an important audience tonight, one that would soon start asking questions about their relationship. The smart move now was to cling to him. So for a moment Emma stopped resisting. She relaxed against his strength and let the tension drain out of her body. Gambling was stressful, even when she was trying to lose. Alex brushed a hand through her hair, his lips brushing the top of her head, in a gentle kiss. It felt too good, and alarm bells echoed in every corner of her mind. She ignored them as long as she could, but finally she stepped back. Still he kept a firm arm around her waist. Though it went against all her better judgment, she didn't try very hard to escape the tangle they were in. A few gamblers drifted from the table, and a spindly man called for a new round. Katie and David emerged from the crowd. How'd you do? Katie asked. She lost all my money, Alex said with a cheerful squeeze. Yes, all for a worthy cause, Emma added. She lost 30,000 of my dollars, Alex continued. She'd forgotten it was that much. But a glance at his expression told her he didn't care. Of course he didn't. He wanted the whole world to know she was here. On his dime. That was the game. His game, she reminded herself, struggling not to let him hold her too tightly. Take the tax deduction and don't complain. He resisted her attempt to pull free. She yanked harder. Alex just grinned at her. Ladies and gentlemen, Maxim's voice boomed over the sound system. Please take a short break from the tables and join us in the garden for the drawing of tonight's grand prize." "The garden sounds lovely," Emma said, determinedly tugging herself free from Alex's grip and moving safely beside her sister. "Let's go watch the drawing." "Thanks to the generosity of an anonymous donor," Maxim continued, "this year's grand prize is a brand new convertible Mercedes-Benz." The crowd erupted in cheers. "Please check the upper right corner of your admission ticket for your raffle number," he added. Emma grabbed Katie's arm, and the two of them followed the stream of guests toward the brightly lit garden. She tried to focus on the garden, on Katie, on anything other than Alex, or worse, on her reaction to Alex. "Is David okay?" she asked Katie, her eyes taking in the oak trees twinkling with thousands of white lights, the glowing paper lanterns contrasting against colourful flower beds and hanging baskets. "The garden was breathtaking at night," Katie shrugged. "Why do you ask?" Emma studied her sister's expression. "He seems quiet." David was usually playful and easygoing, much like Alex, at least Alex tonight. "No, stop it." "No, Alex, not anymore. Maybe he thinks I wanted to win," Katie said. "How much did you lose?" "A few thousand," Katie tossed her golden hair. "I honestly don't know what his problem is." Then she gave a little whistle, pointing toward the car. "Oh, what a cute little car." "I could definitely see myself cruising around the flower garden in that." "Not bad," Emma agreed, admiring the sleek lines of the silver convertible. The chrome gleamed, and the paint sparkled brilliantly under the garden lights. "Ladies and gentlemen," Maxim called as he stepped onto the platform beside the dazzling car, "may I just say, the donors of the Teddy Bear Trust are among the most generous in the nation." Cheers and applause rose from the crowd. He nodded in appreciation. Then, as the applause faded, he plunged his hand into a crystal bowl, stirring the ticket stubs with dramatic flair. "And the winner of this stunning new Mercedes-Benz convertible is number 7232. Alex tousled Emma's hair from behind. "That's me," he whispered into her ear. Then he leaned back and winked. "Be right back." Emma stared at his retreating back. "You won?" she exclaimed. Katie blinked at her, wide-eyed. "He won!" she screamed. "I believe we have a winner," Maxim said, spotting Alex moving through the crowd. Alex strode briskly to the stage and handed over his ticket. "Mr. Alex Garrison," Maxim announced after a glance. "Tonight's lucky winner and one of the Teddy Bear Trust's most generous sponsors." Alex gave the car an appraising look. Then he stepped up to the small microphone. "The lucky lady is definitely with me tonight," he declared with a dazzling smile. "And I hope she'll stay for just a few more minutes." He turned to Maxim. "My sincere thanks to Maxim and all the dedicated volunteers at the Teddy Bear Trust." He paused, gazing at the car again. "As much as I'd love to take this little beauty for a spin down the highway, I'm afraid I can't." The crowd fell silent. "Because," Alex said, "I'm donating it back to the Teddy Bear Trust for their September auction." Applause thundered as Maxim stepped forward, clasping Alex's hand in both of his. Emma couldn't suppress the surge of pride in her chest. Staged or not, Alex had just made a substantial donation to a worthy cause. He turned back to the mic. "If you'll indulge me one more moment, I'd like to say something else." He cleared his throat. "I was joking earlier about the lucky lady. The truth is, I think luck tonight belongs to a very special woman." He stepped back slightly. "Emma," he continued, tilting his head toward her. There was a beat of pretense when the confession landed. But fine, she could play along. He'd earned this one. She smiled warmly, trying to look lovingly impressed. His grin widened, his grey eyes gleaming beneath the tree lights.
"Emma, will you do me the honour?"
"Will you marry me?" Emma froze. Her stomach dropped to the floor. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd, followed by a smattering of applause that quickly swelled as heads turned toward her. This was as bad as the Jumbotron.
No, worse.
At least during a baseball game she could have remained anonymous. Half the people here tonight knew her, or her father. Katie nudged her elbow, and she realized Alex was staring at her expectantly. While she scrambled for a coherent thought, he slipped a small velvet box from his pocket. He'd planned this, the entire ridiculous charade. He was the anonymous car donor. The whole evening of chivalry and charity had been orchestrated to trap her. "Say something."
"Emma," Katie hissed. "I can't," she groaned under her breath. "We made a deal with him," Katie reminded her. Yes, they had a deal, but not this.
Not a public, humiliating display of affection. Her reputation was at stake, and besides, she had explicitly refused this exact thing. Katie pushed her gently toward the stage.
Go, she didn't want to. She couldn't, her legs turned to stone. "Emma?" Alex crooned, his voice overly tender. "Faker. Bankrupt," Katie whispered warningly. "Bankrupt." Emma forced one foot forward.
Then the other. She plastered a sweet smile on her face and walked toward him. Applause swelled as she went, and people congratulated her along the short path. She let her vision blur, the faces of the crowd melting around her. On stage, Alex gallantly took her hand. "Will you marry me?" he repeated, flipping open the velvet box. She barely glanced at the ring. She just wanted it over. She nodded quickly. Yes, I'll marry you. And then I'll kill you." His crooked grin said he'd read her mind, and that he'd won this round. He slid the oval diamond ring onto her finger. Then, as the crowd roared their approval, he leaned down. He wouldn't. He couldn't. He did. She tried to step back, but his arms slipped around her. "Just kiss me," he murmured. And she realized she had no choice. Hundreds of people were watching, and this was the crux of a multi-million-dollar deal. She tilted her head and saw him smile. She promised herself it would be quick. She grimaced, determined to get it over with. But when his lips touched hers, it ignited 24 hours worth of suppressed passion. His mouth was warm and firm, too easily convincing for a photo op. The smoky taste of whiskey added to the flavor, the lingering spirit teasing her sensitive skin. She told herself to stop, but his arms drew her closer, and fireworks exploded in her head, mingling with the camera flashes at the edge of her vision. A primal rush flooded through her. Her eyes fluttered shut, and her body softened. Opening to him, responding to him, heat coursing through her veins. Slowly, he loosened his arms. Then he pulled back, ending with a brief, chaste brush of her lips. The crowd's cheers seeped back into her awareness as every photographer captured their kiss on film. It was like a bucket of cold water dousing her. Keeping things professional was going to be harder than she'd ever imagined. Alex couldn't believe how easy it had been. Maxime was more than thrilled about the rigged Mercedes stunt. Sure, it meant Teddy Bear got a hefty donation. But Alex suspected the man was even more excited about the spectacle of the engagement than anything else. Alex shrugged as his limo rolled out through the iron gates of the McKinley Fifth Avenue Hotel. He'd seen Emma heading toward the penthouse elevator before pulling out his phone to call Ryan. He guessed plenty of people had romantic evenings. What? Ryan mumbled sleepily. She put the ring on, Alex said as the limo merged into traffic. Everything go smoothly? She said yes. That was the important part. The kiss had been
memorable, to say the least.
Stunningly so. But the kiss was fleeting, no matter how unexpectedly electric it had been.
That diamond ring was money in the bank.
Garrison, the eligible bachelor, is now Garrison, the hopeless romantic. Gunter would be thrilled with the publicity, but Alex wasn't about to risk his bachelor lifestyle. "Better you than me, buddy," Ryan laughed, fully aware that the engagement would cramp Alex's dating life. A faint giggle sounded in the background, triggering Alex's radar. "You alone?"
he asked. "You kidding?" Alex swore. Ryan laughed again.
"Just keep your eyes on the profit margin." "Oh, think of the profit," Alex muttered. But he also thought about Emma's kiss. For someone so proud of her self-control, those lips had packed a punch, and she'd looked stunning in that glittering dress, showing off miles of smooth, creamy skin. He'd run his fingers over that skin once, a reckless mistake, because it made it nearly impossible to think about business when all he wanted was more of her. More lips, more everything.
And that was never going to happen, not now.
Not ever. The woman with Ryan giggled again, and Alex let out a resigned sigh. "Cheer up," Ryan said. "Sure." Alex hit end and tossed the phone onto the seat beside him. This was going to be one hell of a boring marriage. Emma had a long Monday morning. The next day, she wiped away beads of sweat near her hairline, tuning out the chatter of two women soaking in the mineral baths near the fern garden of the spa. She should have known better than to get involved with Alex. When a deal seemed too good to be true, it usually was. Sure, the man had saved them financially, but the personal cost was almost unbearable. She hated attention. And if the morning's frenzy was any indication, attention was exactly what she'd be stuck with for the next few months. In desperation, she slipped out of the office, down the back stairs, and wandered aimlessly behind the curved marble wall of the hotel spa, in search of a little peace and privacy.
"Emma!" Katie's voice came from the area shaded by rows of coconut palms. "Over here," Emma reluctantly called back. Katie appeared in high heels, a tight white skirt, and a matching blazer.
"What are you doing?" Emma paused for several significant seconds. "What do you think I'm doing?"
"I don't know. I'm hiding." "Hiding from what?"
"Not what, who." Katie slipped off her jacket. "Then who?" "Philippe? Why?"
"Aren't you about to ruin your laptop?"
"Because he's the hotel manager, and because he's a mad stalker. And yes, probably." The two women in the nearby hot tub laughed, and Katie stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You're being chased by that crazy hotel manager? Is there really such a thing as a deranged hotel manager?" "I think all of them are crazy," Emma said.
"I'm being chased by at least a dozen men."
"Philippe just happens to be the most persistent. Can't you ever get peace from all that attention?" Emma hit save on her laptop and turned her full attention to Katie. "Oh, sure. Then all the reporters can have a field day writing about McKinley's security staff roughing up scrawny guys in berets." Katie glanced over her shoulder. "We have reporters too?" Emma sighed, tossing her damp hair back.
"Yes, we have reporters."
"In the lobby out front?"
"And on the mezzanine." "No one's bothering me." "That's because Alex Garrison didn't stage a spectacular public scene with you last night." Katie sat at the other end of the bench,
crossing one leg under the other, her face brightening with memory. "You have to admit, if it were real, it would be incredibly romantic." Emma had no desire to admit that. It was ostentatious and showy. She would never, not in a million years. Marry a man who thought a public proposal was romantic. She closed her laptop.
It's not practical, Katie sighed. I know, yeah, then stop daydreaming about me. Alex was acting. A small distinction, perhaps?
But an important one. Katie twirled a lock of her hair mischievously. He's a good actor. He probably had the marketing department script it for him. Katie laughed at that. Miss McKinley? A man's nasal voice cut in. Emma's blood pressure spiked. She stared at Katie. Did you get followed? I'm not exactly Agent 07, Katie protested. Ah, Miss McKinley, Philippe Gagnon repeated. Then he appeared around the corner of the marble wall.
Ah, there you are. Katie barely suppressed a laugh as the man, who was in his 60s, wiry but sturdy and quick, strode toward them, hands clasped piously over his chest. There is so much to be done, he began. He probably had the right idea.
And topping Emma's personal list was a secret trip to the Bahamas. She wanted to find a stretch of lonely coastline with no telephones, no radios, and no hotel managers. Katie, on the other hand, seemed entirely unbothered by Philippe's interruption. She stood and extended her hand. I'm Katie McKinley, the bride's sister. Enchanted, mademoiselle. He gallantly lifted her hand and kissed her knuckles. I am Philippe Gagnon, sous chef, trained at the Sorbonne and apprenticed under Jean-Pierre Leconte. I have cooked for royalty and presidents. Katie turned to Emma, her smile widening. Did you hear that, Emma? He's cooked for royalty and presidents. Tell me right now, Emma murmured, a bead of sweat sliding down her chest. Philippe wagged a finger reassuringly. No, nothing for the bride to worry about. I am here now, and I will take care of everything. Emma straightened.
Oh, no, Emma! Katie shot her a warning look, but Emma refused to play along. This is your most stressful time, mademoiselle. Philippe waved toward the exit.
Those freeloading hooligans are in the hallway.
I will make them disappear. Degenerates! Then he raised both palms.
No need to thank me. Finally, I will deal with the reporters. Give them a morsel or two, yes? Keep them satisfied for a short while. Emma stared into the man's pale blue eyes and saw an unexpected intelligence there. It took her less than a minute to reassess him. Can you actually clear those people out of my hallway? Oh, certainly, he said. But you must remain calm.
I must keep you calm. If by keeping her calm,
Philippe meant protecting her privacy, then perhaps he was worth keeping. Around, Mrs. Nash announced her presence on the pool deck by setting a carafe of orange juice down beside Alex's lounge chair with a distinct clink. He looked up from McKinley's strategic plan summary. He wasn't sure what he'd done to irritate Mrs. Nash, but the pursed set of her lips made it obvious. He tried to gauge her expression, but the sunlight glared, and his eyes were bloodshot from lack of sleep. He decided to go for the direct approach. Something wrong? What could possibly be wrong? Then her mouth softened slightly. Other than finding out you're getting married, I am, he confirmed, wondering if that was really such a shock. Surely she wasn't offended that he hadn't told her personally. Sundays were her days off. She peered at him over the rim of half-moon spectacles suspended from a gold chain around her neck. He was clearly missing something here. Still, he didn't have time for guessing games. 10 more minutes cramming before his face-off with old man Murdoch of Dream Lodge, and then he planned to dive into the pool to shock himself fully awake. He had exactly 30 minutes for that, and a quick shower if he wanted to reach Dream Lodge headquarters before 8. And he did want to get there before business began. He couldn't risk Murdoch making a move on Emma before Alex made his own. Finally, Mrs. Nash relented. To a woman I've never even met. Alex shook his head. You met her last week. She drew in a scandalized breath. No, she came to the estate last week. We were never introduced. Fair enough. An oversight. Alex could see he'd have to fix that as soon as possible.
I'll just learned she inherited some small ownership. And what exactly was that odd little tilt to her chin?
Her voice dropped sharp and deliberate.
Ownership of the hotel. Right, Alex replied cautiously.
He was too tired to justify his private life. With that admission, her tone turned scolding again. You should be ashamed of yourself, young man. Young man? What happened to Mr. Garrison? Making that poor innocent girl suddenly fall for you like some romantic fool. Alex leaned forward.
Wait a minute. Did you send her those greenhouse flowers? Take her to Tradori? Reserve the Manhattan apartment.
Whoa. How the hell did she know about the Manhattan apartment?
I've been completely honest with Emma. Ha!
The poor woman doesn't stand a chance. Her father just died. Now that was hardly fair. Alex rose to his feet. She's had every opportunity. Mrs. Nash shook her head. Alex, I care about you, truly.
I see you like a son. I haven't done anything wrong. I know your weaknesses. I know my weaknesses too. And they did not include conning women out of their property. Sure.
He might deceive competitors to secure a deal, or bluff the world at large to merge two hotel chains. But those were entirely separate matters, and entirely defensible ones. No, this wasn't something he had to explain, of course not. Unfortunately, something in her face ignited the last flicker of childhood guilt in him, and he couldn't quite bring himself to disappoint her. He made a snap decision to reel her back in.
Emma knows exactly why I'm marrying her. Her expression shifted instantly.
She knows it's for her hotels, he nodded. I offered her a way out of financial trouble and she took it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a meeting. He stripped off his shirt, stepped out of his sandals, and walked toward the pool's edge. Mrs. Nash trailed after him. A marriage for profit, Mr. Garrison? Yes, Mrs. Nash, a marriage for profit. It wasn't as if he were breaking any laws. Well, we both know where that leads. To higher profits and a stronger asset base, to misery and a cold, lonely death. A stillness passed through Alex. He hooked his toes over the pool's edge and stared into the clear blue water.
I'm not my father. You're more like him than you dare admit. I'm nothing like him. She clucked her tongue.
And he could feel her shaking her head behind him. I know exactly what I'm doing, Mrs. Nash. With all due respect.
Mr. Garrison, you don't have a damn clue. Yes, that was respectful, of course.
Alex suppressed the urge to argue. He'd run out of patience and time. Drawing a long, steady breath, he tightened his calves and dove cleanly into the pool. At exactly 8:03, Alex found a parking spot and strode up the wide staircase into the Dream Lodge headquarters lobby. The spacious, airy hall made an immediate impression, quiet, refined, and luxurious. Then again, Clive Murdoch hadn't built his empire on mediocre or foolish tastes. The man was one of Alex's competitors for good reason. He wasn't going to be taken down easily. Briefcase in hand, power suit freshly pressed, and hair trimmed neatly at the collar, Alex skimmed the floor directory beside a bank of elevators. The executive offices were on 38. He pressed the button, and the door slid open instantly. The elevator rose smoothly, silently. On the top floor, he stepped out and introduced himself to the receptionist, hoping that the mere sound of his name would be enough to grant him access to Clive Murdoch without an appointment. "I'll see if he's available, Mr. Garrison." The young woman smiled from behind her discreet headset and dialed a number. Alex? The sound of another woman's voice sent a ripple of alarm down his spine. He quickly hid his surprise and turned to face Emma. Then, stepping closer to create distance between them and the receptionist, he said smoothly, "Emma, right on time as always." "What are you? I was worried you'd be late, darling." He placed a kiss on her forehead, his mind scrambling for a plan. "What are you doing here?" she demanded. "What are you doing here?" he countered. "And why aren't you wearing your ring?" A rather serious breach, wasn't it? Maybe it was work-related. He certainly hadn't come up with a better idea in the last 15 seconds. "I have a meeting," she said. "So I heard," he teased. "Heard from who?" He caught a quick answer before she could press him. "The hotel business is a tight-knit community." "Is it really?" She frowned. "Yes, really," he said, frowning back with mock offence.
"I can't believe you'd schedule a meeting with Murdoch without me." And honestly, he couldn't believe she'd agree to meet Murdoch on his own turf to negotiate. Didn't she understand the advantage of home ground? "It's still my company," she said.
"And I'm a partner in it." "Where's your ring?" She clutched her left hand behind her back. "We haven't signed that yet." They'd talk about the ring later. He'd already said plenty about that damned ring. "You said yes in front of 500 people. Her skin darkened slightly. "And we will discuss that later." He should have hated that tone, but he didn't. It energized him instead of irritating him. It made him look forward to later. "Fine," he said evenly. "But right now we have a meeting." "I have a meeting?" He gave her a cool, British-style smile. "Darling, your last business meeting was yesterday." "How did you—" He cut her off with a quick kiss on her tense, soft lips. Then he pulled back, holding her gaze, speaking just loud enough for the receptionist to hear. "Don't worry about it. We can pick up the ring after lunch." "I'm going to kill you," she muttered. "Later," he murmured. "After you make me swoon by agreeing to marry me." Then he took her hand and turned politely to the receptionist. "Is Mr. Murdoch ready to see us now?" Emma couldn't believe Alex had barged in and wrecked her business meeting. How had he found her? And how on earth did he know to wait for her here? Didn't he have a company to run on a Monday morning? She felt like a fool walking into Clive Murdoch's office half a step behind him. Judging by Clive's expression, she probably looked like one too. He had called her over the weekend, saying he was doing some business with her father. He asked if she'd like to take it from here. She'd said, "Of course." She had told him she was the decision-maker, the one running the company, and now Alex had just cut her off at the knees. "Clive," Alex greeted bluntly, extending his hand. "Alex." Clive nodded, offering a cautious handshake. He looked at Emma. "Mrs. McKinley?" "Soon to be Mrs. Garrison," Alex said, his tone deliberately provocative. Emma shot him a furious look. What did he think he was doing? "Good news travels fast," Clive said. Alex pulled out a chair at the round conference table, motioning for Emma to sit. She considered refusing, but his expression warned her not to interfere, so she took the chair. She'd set him straight about this business partnership later. "However," Alex continued, still standing, voice steel cold,
"You had an appointment with my fiancé." "Alex," Emma interrupted. "I scheduled this meeting last week," Clive said.
his shoulders tense, his tone uncompromising. "Things have changed since last week," Alex replied. "Mr. Murdoch," Emma began, trying to calm things down. "Call me Clive," he said. "No!" Alex snapped. Emma stared at him, shocked. "Would you stop this?" Then she turned to Clive. "We're here to listen." Alex's hand tightened on the back of a chair. "We're here to make things clear." She glared at Alex. "You don't even know McKinley properties are not for sale."
Not now, not ever. None of them for sale?
Clive hadn't said anything about buying. "You haven't even heard my offer," Clive said. The word offer clearly not surprising him. Emma went silent. How did Alex know they were talking about a sale? She hadn't even known they were talking about one. "We don't need to hear your offer," Alex said. Then he held out a hand to Emma. "In fact, we don't need to be here at all." Emma glanced between the two men who were locked in a silent stare, each waiting for the other to look away. What had she missed? What did Clive want to buy? And why didn't he want Alex to notice? "Someone please, I'll be your point of contact," Alex declared, tossing a business card onto the table. "If you have any dealings with McKinley, you call me." Clive didn't touch the card. "You walk out that door and the offer's gone." Alex shrugged, and Emma had the fleeting thought that he might actually be negotiating. Was this how it worked? Did he expect Clive to follow them out and raise his bid? Clive gave a smug smile. "That offer was market standard. Pocket change, and we both know it, oh boy." Emma had never been that bold. She wished she knew what they were talking about, but pretending seemed like the smartest move for now. She took Alex's hand, and they left the office. "What now?" she asked, as they waited for the elevator. Alex glanced down at her. "Now there's someone I want you to meet." She looked over her shoulder.
Is he following us?
Alex checked behind them.
I doubt it. But what?
The elevator doors slid open. "I thought he'd follow us out and suddenly make a better offer." Alex gestured for her to step in first. "He won't make another offer, but he will go," she said. Alex held the door open.
Oh yes, he'll go. Realization began to dawn on Emma. We're really walking out without even knowing what that was about.
What kind of business tactic was that? "Of course we are." "Get in." "But maybe it was—" Alex leaned close, lowering his voice. "Stop talking."
Get in the elevator. Emma hesitated.
Then her eyes flicked toward the receptionist. Right. This was not the place for a scene. But what on earth was Alex thinking? She lifted her chin and stepped inside, clenching her jaw until the doors closed.
Maybe it was a good offer, she snapped.
Maybe it was amazing, Alex grinned, utterly unbothered. Which seems more likely, Emma? That Clive Murdoch got rich by generously overpaying for hotels, or that Clive Murdoch is a cunning old man trying to take advantage of your inexperience? She glared at him. Maybe we should talk about who's taking advantage here. The muscles in his temples tightened briefly.
I'm not old, and I'm not taking advantage of you, Emma. I'm keeping you from going bankrupt. How noble of you, she said sweetly.
And not at all self-serving, right? You can make a fight out of anything, can't you? The elevator dinged, and the doors slid open. How do I know you're not taking advantage of my inexperience? She pressed.
And, by the way, that's insulting.
I've been in the hotel business my entire life. I've done everything from managing a bar to renovating a ski resort. That's your resume?
Bartending?
Most recently, I was vice president overseeing North American operations.
I'm not some clueless beginner, really.
He challenged as they walked down the hallway. Then why did you agree to meet Murdoch in his office? Emma didn't see the problem, because that's where he suggested. Alex pushed open the glass double doors. The temperature jumped 20 degrees as car horns and city noise replaced the serene hush of the corridor. You should have made him come to you. And that would have made a difference. How? They stepped aside for a stream of pedestrians as they headed down the front steps. Tactical advantage. Alex's mouth curved into a cocky smile. Rookie mistake. Good thing I was there to save you. You didn't even let him make the offer. A bad offer, Emma. I brought the car. Just across the street? You don't know it was bad? Oh, I'm quite sure. The blue Lexus over there, under the red sign. I meant the offer. Alex stopped at the bottom of the steps and turned to face her.
I know about your meeting. I know he wanted to buy.
I know how to block him. Don't you think there's a chance I actually know the market value of a hotel? Not at your inflated prices, I bet. She regretted the jab the second it left her mouth. Alex gave her a hard, assessing look. She had been wrong to try to prove herself in this deal with Murdoch. Deep down, she had even hoped he might offer something that could save McKinley Inns, so she wouldn't have to give Alex half the company or go through with their ridiculous wedding arrangement. But Murdoch hadn't wanted a fair business deal. He'd wanted a bargain, a steal. Not that she'd ever admit that to Alex. He already had enough leverage over her. As I said, Alex broke into her thoughts, there's someone I want you to meet. Your lawyer? She guessed. Given that the engagement was fake, the prenup was probably next on his list. No, not my lawyer, my housekeeper. For a man known to be ruthless and cold, Alex clearly had a soft spot for his housekeeper.
Oh, he tried to hide it?
But it was there. In the subtle change of tone in his voice as they drove up the long driveway to his home in Oyster Bay. She can be cranky sometimes and about as critical as anyone I've ever met. But she's been with my family since before I was born, so I try to keep her happy. Because she's terrified of life outside your control, Emma guessed. Alex hesitated just a moment too long.
Don't be ridiculous.
They drove beneath sprawling oak trees and across neatly trimmed lawns. The last time Emma had gone to the Garrison estate, she'd been focused on the upcoming conversation with Alex. This time, she paid more attention to the scenery, doubling her glances as they passed a magnificent rose garden. What did you tell her about me? Emma asked, craning her neck to take in the stunning blooms. Wow, beautiful. The Vanderbilt gardeners had nothing on the Garrisons. That I'm marrying you for your hotels, he said. You didn't say that. Actually, I told her I was helping you out of your financial mess. She guessed the hotel part. That surprised Emma. Well, at least I don't have to lie to her. You don't have to lie to anyone else either. Well, that was the most ridiculous thing Emma had ever heard. Oh, yes, I do. We tell them we're getting married, he explained. We tell them we couldn't be happier, which, when you factor in the money, is true. And we tell them we're partnering to manage McKinley Inns, all perfectly legitimate. And what do we do when they ask about our feelings? Are you planning to channel Prince Charles? He shot her a look, one eyebrow raised. Prince Charles? When asked if he was in love with Diana, he said, whatever love means. Alex chuckled. Hey, I bring up Prince Charles, you bring up Mrs. Nash. Mrs. Nash?
I don't know, but she'll be someone threatening.
And I'll find out what. You're insane, like a fox. Emma glanced back through the windshield to see the 3-story white mansion looming ahead. I swear your house is bigger than some of my hotels. That's why I bought an apartment in Manhattan. Still running away constantly, huh?
Alex laughed. The house loomed larger and taller the closer they came.
The white stone columns gleamed in the morning sunlight. Dozens of dormer windows marked 3, no 4 stories, while a grand fountain commanded the circular drive. If you drive me around that fountain 3 times,
I swear you'll never see me again. Good advice, Alex said.
Smoothly bringing the car to a stop, before a polished staircase. She frowned, but he only smirked. They stepped out and began climbing the wide stone steps. "We needed to talk about this," Emma said, trying not to feel intimidated by the grandeur and old wealth that surrounded Alex. "My house?" "About everything. How this marriage thing will work. How often we'll have to be together. How we'll coordinate our schedules." Alex grasped the massive front door handle. "We can coordinate over breakfast." She thought they could set up a regular morning phone call. "What time do you usually get up?" "Around 6, Emma nodded. "I usually eat around 7. We can talk over coffee on the phone." "On the phone? Would you rather email?" "I'd rather eat at the same table. Dining room, breakfast nook, kitchen, poolside, I don't care." "Oh, what are you talking about?" He gestured toward the ornate knob on the huge double doors. "Breakfast." "Pay attention, Emma. We're talking about breakfast." "Where?" "Here, of course." Emma froze. "Here? Can you think of a better place?" "My penthouse." He smiled smugly as he pushed the door open. "Would you rather share your bedroom with me?" "We don't have to live together." "Of course we do. We're getting married, in name only. And even if they were in the same house, it couldn't possibly be here." Emma hesitated as she stepped into a vast circular foyer with alcoves and archways, staring upward. "Definitely not here. Normal people don't live like this," she said. "It's practically a palace." "That's because my great-great-grandfather Hamilton was British nobility, the younger son of an earl." Emma studied the line of portraits stretching down the main hallway. "Why doesn't that surprise me?"
"The Earl of Kessex," Alex said.
"A small farming region just south of Scotland. The elder brother inherited the title and estate, so Hamilton joined the Royal Navy. I suppose he always wanted a title of his own, because he bought the first 800 acres and built this place." Emma slowly followed the hallway, examining the aristocratic portraits. "This one," Alex said, pointing to a man in full naval dress. Golden epaulets on his shoulders, medals gleaming on his chest, his left hand gripping a curved sword. He looked proud, stern and fiery. In fact, if you took away the hat, the moustache, and about 25 years, he looked astonishingly like Alex. Emma stepped back and glanced at another. "Oh, yes, yes," Alex said.
"I know. That explains a lot," Emma said.
"The hereditary urge to expand the family empire." "Oh, I like her," came a woman's voice. It carried a crisp British accent, followed by the light tap of heels on polished hardwood. Embarrassed, Emma instinctively moved away from Alex. The woman was taller than Emma, perhaps an inch or so even without the visible heels. Her hair was a fashionable short auburn blonde, cut in soft waves that framed a narrow face. She wore a straight-cut dress with a high collar and minimal makeup, a pair of reading glasses dangling from a gold chain around her neck. "You're not good enough for her," the woman said to Alex, Mrs. Nash. "May I introduce Emma McKinley, my fiancée?" It was the first time Alex had used that title.
And it sent a guilty twist through Emma's stomach. "Are you absolutely sure you want to do this?"
Mrs. Nash asked Emma, studying her face carefully. "Absolutely," Emma said, and she was sure. There were a million reasons not to marry Alex, but the argument in favor was compelling. "Well, then let me have a proper look at you." Mrs. Nash scanned her up and down with a critical eye. "Mrs. Nash," Alex protested. "Amelia's," she declared. Emma glanced at Alex. "Emma can choose her own wedding dress," Alex said. Her wedding dress? Until now, Emma had firmly blocked that detail from her mind, along with the church, the flowers, the cake, and the groom. Most of all, the groom.
And the groom's kiss.
She shivered at the memory of their engagement kiss Saturday night. "If you're going to do this," Mrs. Nash said, Then for the sake of the family, you'll do it properly, here and now. We can do it properly without Amelia's dress.
Alex said, "You certainly don't want Cassandra's,"
Mrs. Nash said to Emma. Or Rosalind's. I was thinking something from Ferragamo or Vera Wang, Alex said. Modern? Mrs. Nash repeated, horrified. What's wrong with Cassandra's and Rosalind's? Emma asked, partly to placate Mrs. Nash, but partly to put Alex in his place. If he thought he was choosing her wedding gown, he had another thing coming. Rosalind died young, my dear. Oh, That was in 1942, Alex supplied. Oh, well then. Condolences were apparently unnecessary. And Cassandra, Mrs. Nash tutted.
Poor girl.
You two have enough trouble ahead without invoking that cursed gown. That's very generous of you, Emma said politely. But I'm sure I can find something on Fifth Avenue. Do you want the world to believe you're marrying for love or not? Emma hesitated, thinking of poor Princess Diana. We'd like them to think so. Mrs. Nash gave them both a disdainful look. If I'm to be an accomplice in this madness, you'll take my advice. Emma almost said, Yes, ma'am. The Garrisons, Mrs. Nash continued, do not buy off-the-rack wedding gowns.
Now then, let me see the ring. Alex cast Emma an accusing glance, and she sheepishly moved her hands behind her back. I left it at home, did you?
But instead of criticizing her, Mrs. Nash nodded decisively. Very well, we'll use the Tudor diamonds. Emma had no idea what Tudor diamonds were, but they sounded antique, sentimental, and no doubt priceless. She shook her head.
I don't want anything of Alex's, but of course you will. No, really. Alex slid an arm around her shoulders.
Mrs. Nash is right, Emma. She shook her head harder, trying to ignore the dizzying warmth his touch stirred in her. Why did every contact with him make her pulse race? It went beyond annoyance. It was dangerously distracting. Yes, he was handsome, virile, and smelled like cedar musk. He was also wealthy, shrewd, and brilliant, if morally ambiguous to an infuriating degree. She couldn't help but admire that, and sometimes he seemed genuinely concerned about her. Sometimes he showed a vulnerable or mischievous side. She liked that. She didn't want to, but she couldn't deny he could make her laugh. You should save this for your real bride, she said firmly. She is his real bride, Mrs. Nash declared.
You're his real bride, my dear. No, I'm...
She turned helplessly to Alex. He shrugged, and she felt completely adrift. The family ring, above all else, suddenly seemed overwhelmingly symbolic. We need to make arrangements, Emma told him. Maybe if they had a list, a prenup, the ceremony, where they'd live, how long they'd have to stay together, it would feel more manageable. Exactly, Mrs. Nash agreed. And we'll start with the Tudor diamonds. They're safely kept in the Wiltshire bedroom. I trust you still remember the combination, Alex?
I remember, Mrs. Nash. Well, we don't keep liquor in there.
So you've had no reason to use it recently. I should have fired you years ago, Alex said. Though his tone was full of affection, their easy banter made Emma feel oddly left out.
I'm sure the ring isn't. You should take a look at the rest of the collection while you're up there, Mrs. Nash added.
Then she winked at Alex. Nothing says responsibility like a flawless emerald. Alex nodded to her and patted Emma's shoulder.
Shall we? No, they shouldn't. She needed to delay this.
They needed to plan. We need to talk, she repeated more firmly. We can talk in the Wiltshire bedroom.